Hey, everybody, it's Steve Borey from the American Casino Guidebook. If you're not familiar with us, please be sure to visit our website at americancasinoguidebook.com. And joining me today is my son, Matt Borey.
How's it going, everybody? And we are here today with Josh O'Connell from, what is your website, Josh?
It's Know Your Slots at knowyourslots.com.
There you go. So if you're not familiar with his site, he does a lot of stuff on there about, you guessed it, slot machines. And he also touches on players clubs. He does slot comparisons about different paybacks. He does all sorts of stuff. It's a great website. So be sure to check it out. And we are going to interview him today. So I'm going to go ahead and start. So Josh, what is your background and how did you get involved in gambling?
Sure. So my personal background is more in writing and marketing. That's sort of what my career has been. But I worked in journalism for a while, write about a lot of different topics. And my experience with gambling goes back to when I was 21 and I went to Foxwoods as a newly turned 21 and gambled for the first time. But I've been in the slot community online for quite a few years. I've followed different groups. I participate in various activities, and I sort of noticed sort of repetitive questions and patterns around topics that many were trying to figure out, and not always the best information and answers being passed around. And so that was sort of the genesis for the idea for the site, where I was hoping that I would make it easy to find information, things you could search and look up on, if you're searching Google, if you're searching the site, and just try to make that information a bit more accessible.
All right, now on your website, you have different sections up on top there. And I guess you're trying to address a lot of the basic questions that people have about slot machines. Could you tell us more about your website and how you do that?
Absolutely. So I sort of focus on a few high-level topics. So one, of course, is the actual slot games themselves and how they work. A second is around Players Club programs and comps and how that whole thing works. Travel, and just sort of talking about my experiences at different casinos across the country, what types of conditions you can expect. If you're looking for, like a high-limit experience versus a low-limit experience, you might be looking for different things. And so I try to surface those types of topics. And then, many times dealing with like the myths and the questions that come up a lot, and I know that you address these questions too as part of the topics that you talk about, but the types of things of, are they changing paybacks on a day-to-day basis or an hour-to-hour basis and things like that. So I try to address those questions and why the answer is what it is. And so I have a whole myth section and reality section on the site as well.
I actually like your slot tutorials because the funny thing is everybody some of my friends, if we're ever going and playing if we're at the casino and want to play on slots, I like to read the directions to see how the slots actually work. And a lot of people make fun of me. And I know there's people all the time that go and play. And I feel like if you just sit down at a slot machine, half the time, you don't know what the hell's going on. So I like that you have your little like walkthroughs there on the slot machines. That's very good. Now, another question for you is, how often do you actually go to casinos yourself?
I would say on average, I'm going about once a month right now, but many times the trips aren't isolated to an afternoon. So I just came back from Las Vegas and I was there for a week. So, that once a month visit happened to be a 7-day long visit in that case. But, I do also go to my locals and that'll just be like a day trip. But yeah, on average, once a month.
And what's your favorite casino to go to?
That's tough because I kind of like different casinos for different reasons. Close to home, because I live in New England, Mohegan Sun's probably my favorite right now. I feel like they're doing a really good job at the moment and sort of balancing all the different things that have to be balanced at a time like this. But sort of zooming out, I think the Wynn in Las Vegas is probably my favorite. I've just always had such great experience and such unique experiences there that always sort of come back to memory. And so I think from a overall perspective, I think they just do things very differently.
Now, since you write about slot machines all the time, is that what you primarily play when you go to the casino? Or do you play other things like video poker or table games?
I do play video poker. I have stories about how I was on my grandmother's knee playing illegal video poker at the age of 4. We can talk about that some other time probably, but so video poker's always had a place in my play. And I've been learning some more table games. I've always sort of liked blackjack and craps, but I've been learning some of the other games like Ultimate Texas Hold'em and so forth in recent years, and been getting to find my way into those a little bit too.
All right, and then since you seem to focus a lot on the different players clubs on your website, I think that was my favorite part of your website. Do you have a players club that you like to gravitate towards? Like, which one's your favorite and why?
On a national basis, I think my favorite players card club program is what's going to now be called MGM Rewards, currently M Life. And I think it's because they tend to offer a complete package when it comes to the offers that you get. So when I go to Las Vegas, they give me a room, they give me free play, and they give me food and beverage, or resort credit, they call it. But, I use it for food and beverage. And that's nice because you kind of know going into it that you're getting sort of a little bit of everything. Because we have MGM Springfield up in Massachusetts now too, so that's also added to the benefit, because I can play locally and I can play away from home and work towards the same tiers and the same benefits. And now that they're adding some benefits with real cash value that didn't exist before, coming up in 2022, that also sort of strengthens my sort of loyalty to them at this point.
Now, we want to delve a little more into players clubs. So one thing I want to relate is a story I have about MGM because Players Club. Because years ago, I was playing. They didn't have especially good games. Like in New York, they had some decent games, but you couldn't get any Players Club points. I don't know if you ever remember those video poker games. They had full pay video poker, but they gave you 0 points. But I found some decent games at Mandalay Bay. It was a 50 play, but you didn't have to play 50 play. I think you could play 10 play. So I was in the Players Club. I was playing there for a while. They sent me an offer, and I signed up like 3 months in advance. And it was for 2 free night. Well, it wasn't free. I think I had to pay $39 a night or something. It was a reduced rate. And I made this, and Matt and I went out there. And I believe I made it like three or 4 months ahead of time.
Oh, this is a great trip.
And we went there, and it was a Saturday night. We got there like 11:30 at night.
Yeah, our flight was I think our flight got in like 2 hours late, and I believe Manny Pacquiao was fighting at Mandalay Bay that night, is I think what the issue was.
Right. So there was this big fight. The hotel was sold out. So I got my $39 a night room rate. We get there, and they have no rooms. And when they said, "Oh well, we'll do this," they put us in the penthouse suite at Mandalay Bay for $39 a night. It was like the only. But that was the great part. But the surprising part was it really wasn't that nice a room. I mean,
it was huge. It was huge, but it wasn't that nice.
But and it was only 1 bedroom, and Matt had to sleep out on a pull-out couch outside. And the furniture was like all old, but it was a great.
And wasn't it it was in the hotel in Mandalay Bay too, which was like the upgraded part of Mandalay Bay.
Because your mother and I would stay at the hotel at Mandalay Bay. It was beautiful. Now they changed it to another name. I think
a Four Seasons or something.
Yeah, but I think that one was just so we had the top floor at Mandalay Bay. That was great for I think it was $39 or $29 a night. So that's my best.
Not a bad deal if you can get it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my best Las Vegas star. But anyway. So now I don't play in MGM. We have no MGM properties around us now. We have a Caesars property that they just took over one of the casinos here. Mm-hmm. So maybe you could can you talk about the benefits or some comparisons between MGM program and MGM is now revamping their program, but perhaps Caesars, because traditionally for me, Caesars properties, they have always had, because we like to play video poker. And they've always had that. They're known for having tight casinos, but I think they're somewhat generous with room offers. So for people that are looking to find a players club that's going to benefit them in the most way, do you have any thoughts about perhaps comparing Caesars to MGM, or to another big one is Penn National? What is their My Choice?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think you nailed it as far as Caesars is concerned. They've always been more generous with giving those room comps, and then getting more on top of that's harder. I was joking with a friend. My recent visit to Las Vegas was the first time I ever got any free play from Caesars in Las Vegas, and I got $20. And the rooms are usually very easy to get, but getting anything on top of it tends to be a bit more difficult. I think that's sort of their model, is like, we're going to give you a place to stay, so you don't have to worry about that expense. And if you're Diamond, you don't have resort fees, you don't have to worry about that either. So that's kind of their big selling point. Whereas I feel like MGM had a bit more of a balanced approach. They obviously also have, they both have the Las Vegas properties and the regional properties. And I feel like MGM was a bit more generous on the free play side with the regional properties, just from my experience. than Caesars was, but then the rooms were harder to get. So that's kind of the balance. Offers all come from the same pool of money, but some give one thing more than another, right? So, and I always, locally would prefer the free play because I can drive myself home in an hour. I don't need to necessarily have a room, and so that kind of just attracted me more. But I always leaned on those free rooms for Atlantic City because you could get 3, 4, 5 nights very easily, and then have a good place to stay for a good number of nights on the boardwalk. And so, I think the most important thing about Players Club that I always tell people is it's really about what's most important to you, what you need, because everybody does things a little bit differently. And so if the rooms are more important, you really need that. Caesars has properties where the rooms are that you want to be, then that's probably going to be the program you're going to favor because it's going to give you what you need. And conversely, if you're more of a person who would rather have the free play, not looking for the hotel rooms, you might find MGM to be a better thing. Now, what's happening with MGM is they're starting to adopt some of the things that made Caesars program a bit more interesting. So for instance, the resort fee waivers are now going to be introduced for gold players and higher. That was offer dependent in the past. And so if you were a decent player, even if you were Pearl or Sapphire, you might have gotten resort fee waivers, whereas a gold player may not have, just because that's what the offers entailed. And so,
these are the different tier levels of the club that you're talking about, right? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So there's 5 tiers in the MGM program, and so now having that guarantee at gold level and above gives you a bit more predictability. If I'm a gold player, I'm not going to be paying a resort fee. So that's just a nice knowledge thing, and there's an actual value to that cash wise, right? You're not spending that per night fee if you're gold. Similarly, they introduced the idea of like a celebration dinner at the gold level and higher. So similar to Diamond, where you get that celebration dinner for Caesars, now that same sort of thing will exist for MGM. And so it's interesting to see what they did with the program. So they kind of borrowed a bit from Caesar structure, and they also kind of borrowed a bit from hotel loyalty program structure, where certain levels can get suite night upgrades, which is similar to what, for instance, like Marriott and Hyatt do with their programs. And so I think they're trying to be more competitive just as a whole. And part of that's just because there's more national programs starting to pop up. My Choice has been there for a while, but Bally's now has a national program, and Hard Rock's announced Unity, which is coming in the next 12 months. So there'll be more companies being able to offer you a room in Vegas, offer you a room in other parts of the country, entice you to play at their casinos. And so I think that's actually going to be good for us as players because there'll be more competition. So I think that'll improve the offers.
And let me ask you one question, because again, I haven't played in the MGM property in years. But years ago, like I would go play at when they owned Mirage. Mirage was a higher tier property back then. But it wasn't, one thing I found unusual was, say I wanted to earn a buffet for 2 people. It wasn't what they wouldn't say like, well, earn 80 points on your card or earn 200 points on your card and you'll get a free buffet. You had to take your card, you had to go to the Players Club and say, did I earn enough to get a buffet? And then they'd swipe your card and look and say, oh no, keep playing a little while longer. They'd never tell you something specific and say, okay, well, you need this many points. No, they'd look at it and say, oh, keep playing a little while longer.
Right.
Now there are a lot of programs out there where you can go to the website and say, okay, earn 200 points, you get this, 800 points, 1,000 points, whatever, this is what you'll get. But MGM was never like that. Are they moving in that direction now?
No, they've gone the other direction. So they used to tell you, so if we go back to 2019, it was very clear how many dollars in coin-in you needed to earn a tier credit, how many dollars in coin-in you needed to earn the express comps, and how many dollars in coin-in it took to earn a point. Over the course of the last 2 years, they have gone to a based on time and bet level, right? So that sort of Theo base, we're not going to really tell you, but you kind of know that the games that pay us better are going to pay you better, right? So now it's not very clear how you're going to earn tier credits. They've also not been used to earn faster in Las Vegas and in the regional properties. It's not clear if that will be maintained in this new world order. So they've actually made it more confusing. And that's probably the biggest set of questions that all of us have. And because it's not starting until February 1st, we won't really know until it officially launches what's happening. So unfortunately, no. And in my experience has always been, they always tell you at the M Life desk, well, come back at the end and we'll look over your play and we'll we'll take some charges off. But they don't tell you how much you need to play or, or anything like that. They just sort of look at it and they either do it or they don't. And so, no, it's about as fun as it was when you did it.
Yeah, it sounds like they're going sort of similar to the Hard Rock that we have. That's the one that I'm the most familiar with because we play at it all the time. It's the only Players Club I've ever seen where you don't earn points at all. You just earn comp dollars. And then you use your comp dollar. Of course, the more comp dollars you earn, the more that you've played. And so the higher amount of comp dollars that you earn in a day, the more other stuff that you earn. And I'm still not sure if I like that idea or not, but it seems like everybody's sort of going in that mystery direction.
Yeah, most of my familiarity with this is most of the time the commercial operators tended to be more transparent, and many of the tribal gaming operators were less transparent. Like Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun, you don't have a countdown. They don't tell you when you've earned a point. You just sort of check the app and see, oh, I earned 10 points today or whatever. And what it takes to earn a point is completely, you have to sort of
Arbitrary.
figure it out for yourself. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it seems like now companies like MGM are starting to move in that direction for I guess because maybe it's easier for them to balance it in their financial side, but it's not great for a player.
Okay, so now let me ask you, what do people not understand about players clubs? If you could like pick one thing that people struggle with the most about players clubs, what would it be?
That you should basically always use your card. The number of myths around, oh, I only get jackpots when I pull my card, or the payback changes if my card is in versus out, or things like that. People have, or I don't want them tracking my data, but it's sort of it's the most important thing for people to understand is it's a trade-off, right? You're giving them some information. You're telling them how you play at a casino. And in return, they're giving you offers and they're giving you comp dollars and all those things that go with it. And, that is probably the part of the payback that people are most willing to give up, but it's kind of insane to me because it can be 20, 30, 40% of your theoretical loss. And so using your card is important because that's how you get some of those benefits back to you as a player. And so the consistency of these sort of myths about the player's card and the fear of the player's card is probably the thing that drives me the most nuts, because it's one of the most obvious things you can do to get some sort of a return on your play at a casino.
Now, one other question. Since you were talking about all of these new national chains and all that, the one thing that I know a lot of them are starting to do, at least the ones near us, is tier matching. Do you think that the tier matching is sort of going to be like more competitive now that there's more bigger like national chains that like, because like I know some of the casinos down here, they'll tier match, but if you bring them a tier like a player's card from a casino they don't know, like they're not going to match it because they don't know what that means. Do you think like the people are going to be able to like tier match and take advantage of that more, do you think?
I do, and I think it's in part because these cards are national cards now, right? So like if you take the Hard Rock card down in Florida, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the tier matching that they would do would be their competitors in Florida. But now that there's a Caesars property, they will tier match with a Caesars card, which you can get from anywhere in the country. And so similarly, when the Hard Rock goes to a national program, wherever there's a Hard Rock casino, if people are tier matching them, that national card will be acceptable. So even if you didn't earn your place, say in New Jersey, the New Jersey Hard Rock will probably still accept the card from Florida because they have competition down there. And so like MGM did a whole year of tier matching, and they matched every card in every region that they had a property that they competed with. And you didn't have to be in that region at the time. So if you were in Las Vegas with your card from Connecticut, they would tier match it because that's one of their competitors in New England. And so I think that's going to start to change these things. And I also think having more national programs means they're going to have to be aggressive in wooing players that maybe were favoring Hard Rock in the past, but maybe now they're willing to favor someone else, that type of thing. So this can only be good for players because they're going to compete for our dollar and try to bring us into the casino as well as they can. So.
Yeah, I know the Hard Rock Unity should be pretty good because it was kind of a pain down here where if you had a card that was like more than like a year old, they redid all the players card numbers and you had to go in and get a new players card, and it was a pain. And I liked it because I had my number committed to memory. So anytime I sat down to play at the table games, I would just, if I didn't have my card on me, I'd just be like, hey, here's my number. Because it was only like 6-7 digits long because I've been playing for so long, and now it's like 14 digits long, and I got to just give them my ID every time because I don't know it. But when that one comes out, I think that one will be pretty cool.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It was a bit frustrating that as someone who went to Atlantic City from time to time, and then I'd go to Florida from time to time, you'd have two different cards. The tiers were unlinked. You weren't earning to a unified goal, so it may make me more inclined to go to their casinos when I'm down in Florida in the future because I'll have my AC card that I can use down there too.
I wanted to go back a bit to your thoughts on always using your player's card. Now, in the past, Matt and I, we would always say to use your player's card. But first of all, I just want to mention, a lot of people say, they say, oh, every time I use the card, I lose. And if I don't use the card, I win, so I'm not going to use the card. Well, that's nonsense because they don't track it. So in that sense, don't worry about using your card. They just want to know if you're a good customer, and what they're gonna do is they're gonna come up with a theoretical loss based on your play, and they're going to send you offers based on that play. But now to go back to the original concept here, your theoretical loss. So this is one thing that Matt and I have been stressing in the past couple of years now, because traditionally we said always use your Players Club card. But we've changed it slightly because it's based on your theoretical loss. So let's say,
well, let me butt in here now in case
Yeah.
somebody doesn't know what a theoretical loss is. Casinos are not built on winners. All the games in casinos have an advantage. The casino knows that they're going to make money in the long run, but they also know that in the short run, anything can happen. They know you can have a good session, you can win money. They know you can hit a jackpot and win money, but they know that the longer you keep playing, the more money you're going to lose to them. So say they take they call it the theoretical loss. They know how much you're supposed to lose. So say you're playing a slot machine with a 10% edge and you put through $1,000. That casino knows that your theoretical loss is $100. You might not have actually lost $100. You might have won some money. You might have lost more than $100, but they know that in the long run, if you're playing a game that a slot machine that has a 10% edge and you put $1,000 through it, they know that they're going to make $100 in the long run. They don't care what happens in the short run. That's how they come up. That's why they call it the theoretical loss, or the Theo, as we like to call it. So go ahead, Dad. Continue. Now that
wait, I was listening to you there. I thought you were going to keep
oh
going
no,
on.
well now you can now
okay.
now that people know what the theoretical loss is, now you can
so they have to come up with because it's not like they sell you a product and say, okay, we made $50, it cost us $50, we sold it for $100, we made $50. They don't know, because every time you go in there, it's going to be different. So their formula is a theoretical loss. If you keep playing, you can't beat the math. In the long run, you're going to lose, and you're probably going to lose at about whatever the rate it's set on that particular machine, say 10%. So in addition to your theoretical loss, they're going to come up with an average daily theoretical loss. So if you go in one day and you lose $100, and you go in another day and you lose $1, your average loss is not 90. It's now down to $50. So because you went 2 times and the average loss was you lost $101, so your average daily loss is $50. So, but your higher your average daily losses, the better benefits they're going to send you. So one thing we say is, if you're going to a casino for a short trip, and some casinos, like let's say if you go in a casino and you swipe your card to see what your balance is, they don't count that as a trip, but some casinos do. And I think Caesars is notorious for that. If you valet park your car, it counts as a day trip. And if you don't gamble, they give you a 0 for that day. So or let's say you go in to pick up a gift. You go in to pick up a gift, they say, oh, well, you visited the casino and you didn't gamble, you have 0 for that trip. So
yep.
You have to be careful in that sense. And you have to know try and speak to other people and find out if they count it as a trip. But we tell people now, you don't want to have or if you're going in, I'm going in to pick up a gift, I'm going to play in the machine for 5 minutes. And where normally you play for an hour or 2 hours, you're going to cut your average daily Theo, and it's going to affect your future offers. So in that sense, that's the one caveat we tell people about always using your player's card. Yes, always use your player's card, but in that particular instance, be careful, because you can cut your average daily Theo and cut your future offers.
And so I'm glad you said that, because I kind of glazed over it and I threw one word in there, but you hit it right. Every time I write about this, I put the word nearly in parentheses. You should nearly always use your player's card. And I've given examples on the site, like I went to dinner at the casino. I knew I wasn't going to gamble, so I didn't check the kiosk. They didn't even know I was in the building, right? For all intents and purposes, unless you were doing facial recognition as I was walking in the door, they would have no idea I was there. But the reality is that, yeah, if you're going to play $20 and you normally play $1,000, you shouldn't be using your card for that session because you're going to pull your average way down. But yeah, I totally in agreement on that. And you know, you mentioned Caesars. They're probably the most aggressive in Atlantic City. If you collect a gift and you don't play to your normal level, it's not even just like not play, but if you don't play to your normal level, they will sometimes turn your offers off, make you come to the desk, chastise you that you didn't play at your normal level. We'll turn it back on for now, but if you do it again, you're going to lose your offers. And they're very aggressive about that. And that's something that Tropicana always did. Then Eldorado bought Tropicana, and then Eldorado bought everything else, right? So so they've kind of adopted some of those practices at some of their properties. So they're not shy to tell you that you're going to lose your offers if you're not playing to your normal level as well.
All right, so we just touched on the ADT, or the average daily Theo. Josh, do you have any other tips on how players can improve their comps?
Yeah, so sometimes I see players get frustrated because they're getting small amounts of free play and they feel like they're playing a lot for their free play. And usually I'll ask them questions like, how often are they going to the casino? So part of the way that the calculation is calculated is how often you're showing up. If you show up 3 days a week, they're going to give you a different type of offer than if you show up once a month. And so even if you're spending the same amount of money in an average month. And so where this can sometimes factor in is because your offers are sort of all encompassing, right? So if they give you a discount or a free room, that's considered part of your offer calculation. Some people might be on the bubble because they're coming too often and they're spreading their money out too thinly. And so sometimes I'll say, if you're going 3 times a week with $100, go once a week with $300. You'll now be seen as a $300 visit player instead of a $100 visit player. And so if you're on the bubble between tier types, you might, or offer types rather, you might get a better offer type because they see you as a different type of player now. So I think that that's one thing that you can experiment with. And, you know, obviously it takes a little time because your average doesn't change overnight, but just adjusting your frequency can sometimes help you out. Another thing is going on promotional days where you're getting a point multiplier, a comp multiplier. Sometimes it's important to really look at those offers because if it's a tier credit multiplier, you're going to get something different than if it's a comp dollar multiplier, for instance. And so, which some people actually want the tier credit multiplier because they want to earn a higher tier in those perks. Some people want the comp dollars because they want to go use those at the restaurants or whatever, right? So reading those offers and understanding which offer is right for you. Again, back to that discussion about what Players Club is right for you, what offer is right for you is also important. And then also understanding how you can leverage offers you have to get other offers. So a couple of examples of that. Sometimes casinos will give out cruise vouchers. So they'll offer certain level players a cruise voucher as sort of a bonus. They'll partner with a cruise line, say Norwegian or Royal or Carnival. And then you can basically, because they can vouch for your play at a land-based casino, that can earn you comps on a cruise ship. If you've never cruised before, you know, like most things, you have to sort of prove yourself before you start getting offers, but this is a way to sort of shortcut that. And then once you have those types of things, there's also companies like UR Comps, which can actually look at your land-based offers or see your voucher from a casino and for a cruise and say, okay, well, based on that, we can unlock these other cruise lines for you. And now Carnival has been doing the same thing with their Fun Match program, where you can show your players cards from land-based casinos and you can qualify for offers as well. And so sometimes just understanding how your existing status or your existing offers can sometimes benefit you. And another example of that is like if you are a Caesars player in Atlantic City, they may give you an offer, even though you've never been to Las Vegas, for Las Vegas because they know you and they know your play. And so you can leverage sometimes where you've already sort of established yourself and be able to take advantage of other offers.
Yeah, I just got one of those offers from Caesars. My dad was saying earlier that we have a Caesars property near us now. Mm-hmm. And I was playing there quite a bit. And I don't normally play at Caesars. I go to Vegas often, but I don't normally play at Caesars properties often. And they've now offered me free hotels in Vegas because they know my play's good here. So they're like, well, come out to Vegas. Let's and give us your money out here. So yeah, they did that. And then so I think I'm going to use that soon. I'm very excited to use that. I love free stays. There's one thing I love, it's free stuff.
There you go. Now I just want to mention, because we were touching on cruises, but I had been on your site and I saw you had 2 articles there, very good articles. I think one was about Royal Caribbean and one was about Carnival, how to leverage your Players Club benefits with those 2 particular cruise lines. So people want information on how to do that, if they like to gamble, how to try and get the best benefits for free or reduced price cruises, be sure and go and take a look. So now we covered a lot here. It's been great. We enjoyed meeting you. We like your site. And if people want to get more information about you, Josh, where would they go to do that?
So they can visit knowyourslots.com. I put a new post up every single day. We're actually a few days away from 1,000 posts, so that's kind of exciting. And I also have social media accounts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all with the handle Know Your Slots, so you can find me very easily there. And if people have questions or if they want to know more, I get a lot of the articles that I write are inspired by questions that I see or submitted to the site, and so I really try to answer the types of things that are on people's minds.
All right. Well, Josh, thank you very much for spending some time with us today. If you like the video, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on any of our other great videos.
Yeah, thanks very much for watching, and best wishes for good luck in the casinos.